Hello, friends. Welcome to Story Behind Podcast. This is the show for people who love hearing a good story and who believe the world could use more positivity. We're the team behind GodUpdates and God2, and we hope these weekly short stories will brighten your day.
Couple thank and befriend man who saved their house from a wildfire. Written by Heather Riggleman, read by Julie Provost. A couple thanks and befriends a man who saved their house from a wildfire. Sometimes miracles don't look like parting seas or burning bushes. Sometimes they look like a man with a garden hose standing between a wildfire and a home, doing what he can with what he has. Vince and Candace Brancato were in their Hollywood Hills home when the Sunset Fire threatened to swallow it whole. In the chaos of sirens and smoke, someone showed up when the air was thick with helplessness. A man they didn't know, a man they never called. A man who saw flames licking at their walls and refused to let destruction have the final word. Tony Alvarez, a photographer and former New York firefighter, saw the fire from his apartment and knew there was no resources left to fight it. He didn't hesitate. He grabbed a garden hose, stepped into the flames, and became the difference between a house lost and a house saved. When Vince and Candace finally met Tony, they weren't just grateful, they were in awe. They watched the footage from their Ring camera, hearing Tony's voice on the recording. "This house is on fire already," he said. Gasp, a hand over a mouth, the weight of what could have been settling into the spaces between them. "What do you get someone who did this, right?" Candace asked as she and Vince handed Tony a bag filled with gifts. A hoodie, a fire blanket, and something unspoken but deeply understood, friendship. Vince patted Tony on the shoulder, voice thick with emotion, and said, "You're a good man, good man." And sometimes that's all that needs to be said. Tony didn't owe them anything. He wasn't being paid, he wasn't on duty, he wasn't obligated. And yet, when he saw the flames, he ran towards them. Maybe that's the thing about love, the real kind, the kind that acts. It doesn't calculate, it doesn't wait to be asked, it doesn't count the cost before stepping in. It's the kind of love Jesus talked about in John 15:13. Greater love has none than this, to lay down one's life for one's friends. Or maybe, just maybe, for strangers. Tony may not have known Vince and Candace before that night, but he knows them now. And maybe that's how love works. Maybe in a world that's too often feels like it's burning, we need to be the kind of people who pick up the garden hose, who refuse to let the flames win, who steps in, whether we know the names of those we're saving or not. John 15:13. Greater love has no one than this, to lay down one's life for one's friends.
For some of us, personal finances aren't just personal. They include loved ones, neighbors, the communities we call home, and the causes we hold in our hearts. At Thrivent, planning your finances is bigger than just money. We help you put your plans into motion and faith into action so you can do more for the ones in your heart. Because sometimes all you need to make a difference is someone to help you make it happen. Thrivent, where money means more. Connect with us at Thrivent.com.
There's no place like Israel, rich in history, culture, and spiritual significance. From walking through ancient Jerusalem to floating in the Dead Sea or experiencing Tel Aviv's modern energy, it's a destination like no other. While I haven't visited yet, I've heard how life-changing it is. Now more than ever, we stand with Israel and pray for peace. I look forward to exploring its beauty one day. Learn more at goisrael.com.
Woman donates her kidney to help save prom date from 35 years ago. Written by Heather Riggleman, read by Julie Provost. A woman donates her kidney to help save a prom date from 35 years ago. Some stories unfold in ways we never could have planned, the kind that stitch people back together over time, through threads we didn't even know were being woven. When Sean Moyer was 16, he was on top of the world, student council president, voted most likely to succeed. But when prom season rolled around, his date turned him down and he needed a backup. That's how he ended up inviting Elena Hershey, a junior with ringlet curls and a smile as wide as her heart. He called her smart, pretty, and more than anything else, genuinely kind. Elena said yes, and they danced their way through a night meant to be unforgivable. And then, like so many high school friendships, time did what time does. They drifted, life moved forward. 35 years passed. Then, through a tangle of friendships and life's quiet providence, Elena heard the news. Sean was in kidney failure again. He had been here before, once at 16, once at 36, and now at 51. He was back on dialysis, waiting, hoping. Elena had already been considering being a kidney donor. When she learned Sean needed one, she didn't hesitate. A few weeks of having to rest and a few days of discomfort to extend someone's life or save someone's life, it really is a no-brainer. Just like Prom, they weren't an exact match. So they entered the paired exchange program at the University of Pennsylvania Medical Center, where Elena's kidney would go to a stranger in need. And in return, Sean would be matched with another donor as soon as one became available. Then the text came. The moment Sean got the call, he reached out to Elena. He texted me the news, and I saw it, and I caught my breath a little bit, and I started to cry a little bit, she said. A dance from 35 years ago has led to a second chance at life. Elena, the one-time prom date, became the reason Sean could keep living, and in the end, she wanted people to know this. It was worth it. She was back behind the wheel in 3 days, back on her stationary bike in a month. The cost was small, the gain immeasurable. Jesus said in Luke 6:38, "Give and it will be given to you. A good measure, pressed down, shaken together, and running over, will be poured into your lap. For with the measure you use, it will be measured to you." Giving looks different for each of us. Maybe it's a kidney, maybe it's time, maybe it's love. But maybe, just maybe, when we say yes and step forward with open hands, God does something bigger than we ever could imagine. Luke 6:38, "Give and it will be given to you. A good measure, pressed down, shaken together, and running over, will be poured into your lap. For with the measure you use, it will be measured to you."
Thank you so much for listening to Story Behind Podcast. We're really glad you joined us for this week's story. To see photos and videos that may have been referenced in this episode, check out the links in the show notes. And if you enjoyed what you heard today, subscribe to our podcast, and please tell a friend about us. We'd also love it if you'd rate us and leave us a review. It really does help more people find us. Story Behind is a Salem Web Network production.
For some of us, personal finances aren't just personal. They include loved ones, neighbors, the communities we call home, and the causes we hold in our hearts. At Thrivent, planning your finances is bigger than just money. We help you put your plans into motion and faith into action so you can do more for the ones in your heart. Because sometimes all you need to make a difference is someone to help you make it happen. Thrivent, where money means more. Connect with us at Thrivent.com.